Welcome, everyone. You are about to embark on a journey through the universe as you indulge in this extraordinary essence of enlightened, empowered, evolved. Let the show begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Just in time. Greetings, everyone. I'm Luke Bryan Smith, and welcome to Enlightened, Empowered, Evolved, where we educate, motivate, and liberate you through enlightening dialogues, empowering music, and evolving content. I'm excited yet again because my next extraordinary guest initiates high-performing men into relational authority, teaching them how to master their internal governance so they can lead in their missions and love with an unshakable devotional presence and a whole lot more. But without further ado, allow me to introduce to you Mike Elliott. How are you doing today, Mike?
Yeah, doing really well, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. And I just want to reciprocate that by saying that I believe that time is one of our most precious assets. And for you to choose to spend some of your time in the history of your entire timeline, I just want to extend my sincerest gratitude to you. Thank you for being here at this present moment, Mike.
Yeah, man, such a pleasure. These conversations are one of the most important things to be having right now in our time in a world that's changing so quickly.
So rapidly, yes, I agree with you, Mike. Let's just get right into it. Now, you initiate high performing men into relational authority, teaching them. We read that already, but give us some insight on that. You also work with couples too.
Yeah, so my partner and I just, for all of you that are new to me and the work that I do in the world is my partner and I, Courtney, we have a brand called The Sacred We. And we have a podcast and 2 to 2 work and an online program that's a year-long thing where we support couples to really live what we call evolutionary relationship. It's allowing the love of the relationship to spill out into their life and to have that be in service to their own awakening. So there's the couples work side of things. And in my individual work, like you named in the intro, I really love my passion is supporting men to move through their own process of initiation through a framework and a method that I call relational authority,
Mm,
so that men can actually get to know the power that they have latent inside of them and
right,
bring it to their relationships, actually know how to meet the feminine with confidence. Because from that place, it trickles into everything. It trickles out into how they show up in business and how they show up as a father. And what I have learned over the years, and this is my own work too, that's where the deepest fulfillment is when we are showing up well, when we are confident in who we are being in
right.
the doing of our day to day. And so that's what I'm really here to do.
Wow, that's amazing. And allow me to elaborate a bit on that. Showing up, and I'm paraphrasing. I things slip my mind sometimes quite easily, but showing up, to deal with being able to um, connect and deal with the feminine as a man. Did I say that right? Or can you
Yeah,
tell me
man.
in your words again?
Yeah, that's huge. Like one of the biggest pain points that I end up seeing in men, and I just, for everyone listening, you get to place your own orientation. I'm just speaking about my
Right.
orientation here when it comes to gender. So however you identify, my invitation is find your placement in what I'm saying here. But who I end up attracting are generally men
Right.
who are really having a struggle in satisfying and emotionally meeting their partners. And so what that looks like is them feeling really defeated and lost and confused inside because they're trying so hard. They're doing the things that conditioning has taught them. They
Right.
got the good paying job, they're making money, they're offering over the tangible material goods, but she somehow seems to be still pissed and angry and
Right.
disappointed. And then
Right.
that just amplifies the internalized shame.
Hmm.
And it amplifies this, how this looks in the nervous system is men who are just collapsing, they're shutting down, they just don't understand what they're doing wrong. And sometimes that leads into them believing something's wrong with them or
Right.
something's wrong with their partner, which
Absolutely.
isn't actually true. It's just what I call in my work. It's just that there's an adaptive child driving the bus and it's making it hard to actually adult in the relationship.
Wow. I like how you articulated that. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead. Was there more?
No.
Okay. So, yeah, Mike, that to me, in my perspective, is very important because oftentimes, and I'm speaking from my own experiences. I've I'm thankful that I'm aware now that I don't have all the right answers and I have been programmed certain ways, and women are different than men in regards to emotional, even we can even get to the very essence of men being more logical and women being more emotional. Just that in itself, you're never going to figure it out. I mean, totally, but you can gain the tools from someone like you who specializes in this to be able to successfully, work through some of those adversities and to connect more with peace in the whole relationship. I gather that from you, so that is very important. I'm a work in progress. I think we all are, but especially in regard to I'll say our marriage. I am, yes, and just dealing with the feminine aspect and the feminine energy, and in which I have some of that in myself that clashes with her feminine energy, and learning how to balance and monitor my masculine energy and when to. So yes, it's so great that you can help us navigate this and see that there isn't anything wrong per se with us or our partner. It's just we're not going about it the right way.
Yeah. And of course, because this isn't something we were modeled, right? This
Right.
is, we were most of us, and there's some unicorns out there that had a perfectly connected, bonded mom and dad, and they were in strong allyship in the
Right.
way that they were showing up for life while parenting and able to attune to the kids' needs enough of the time. That's led to a deep sense of inner belonging and enoughness.
Hmm.
And for the rest of us, and that's me, this is why I've devoted my whole life to this, is I need the work. And the more
Right.
I do the work, then I just, whatever I get to build, I offer back in service
Wow.
to others to help them too, because that's the most fulfilling thing for me. But for anyone listening and for us jamming on this place, of course, we don't know how. Nothing's wrong with us. We weren't given the right relational attuned ingredients for us to mature into a fully coherent functioning brain.
Right.
Like if we go right down to the tangible, what's actually true, our brain didn't develop in the way that it needed. If we can't show up and hold space for our partner because she's having a big emotional swing, can you relate? She's
Yeah,
pissed about something, her
absolutely.
her emotions are waving, and then it's so hard to hold it. And I
Right.
find myself still there, even though I know all this, because
Yeah.
my system's going to respond to the capacity of what I was met with growing up in the places where I had big emotions.
Wow. That's absolutely. Thank you for highlighting that because that's also another awareness point right there that I definitely can relate to is, I'm big in wellness and learning and studying and reading, and on especially topics such as this, trying to not I won't say trying, but moving forward in the process of being a better husband, a better man, and I still fall short, because there's certain default mechanisms in there that just, and then you mentioned also, and I'm hoping I'm not being too confusing, but you mentioned in there in regard to the women that now this is not a poke at women at all, but I'm just giving an example. My wife could be projecting herself in this way one moment, and the next moment in my interpretation negatively, and what did I do? You didn't do. And how do I handle this? What? Do I engage and start arguing? I mean, what do I ignore her? I mean, so yes, we need guidance in regard to that. And someone, and what spoke to me even further with you, even more, is the fact that, and I say this too, and you'll see where I'm going with this. I say, I always pride myself in saying, as I learn, I teach. As I teach, I learn. So that's basically saying you're more passionate about something that you're actually dealing with yourself, something that resonates with you yourself. And that to me makes the best advocate, the best teacher for other people, because you're going to be more passionate about it because it's something that you're passionate about, in your own personal experiences. So that's amazing.
Yeah, man. And this is what highlights this place of like our biggest pain point is our greatest medicine to the world
Say
because
that
it's
again.
like our biggest pain point, our biggest struggle, our biggest pain, our biggest wound is actually our greatest medicine to the world.
Wow. Put that on the t-shirt right now.
Yeah. Getting
Wow.
chills because life isn't the life. We are not victims here, and it's so hard to get lost in victim consciousness. I still
Right.
do. I get
Right.
there.
Right.
That's the little self. That's the adaptive child, the kid that's freaking out inside that didn't get the reassurance from mom and dad.
Right. Right.
But it
Right.
but if we get into the deeper truth and if we look at it from a higher perspective, life is inviting us to grow through our deepest wounds so that we can bring that matured self, that potential to other people.
Wow. I like how you said grow through, not just go through, grow through our deepest wounds. Amazing.
Yeah, man, we got to go through it to grow through it. We can't just leave our history behind and think that we can show up and do things that we weren't modeled growing up. That's not how we work. It's not how we function. Our nervous systems are handed down. This is why trauma is passed down through generations. If
Mm,
somebody doesn't come in to interrupt the pattern of the trauma, it just gets passed down because as little ones, and this is, do you have kids?
yes.
So you know this one. Kids don't do what we say, they do what we do.
There it is.
Their
Absolutely.
nerve their nervous system is being formed by the state of our nervous system. And there's a gift in that because it's mirroring to us where we haven't integrated our past history.
Wow. Wow. You're dropping jewels left and right. And you can tell that it's coming from a place of sincerity and passion. What you were saying, I can feel it, not only hear it like a sales pitch, I can feel what you're saying. And you're right. You are absolutely right that what our children don't do what we say. They mimic how we're feeling, the energy we're putting out, and the examples, how we handle things. Every Yes, our example, period, and what's being passed through us, as you mentioned. Yes, so we have our emotional trauma, and we're still filtering through that place. It's going to be passed down some more.
Yeah, man, that's it. And the
Yeah,
more like when we have clarity and awareness around that's what's happening, we can do something about it. Clarity's power.
right.
And so, quick story like for me, God, man, I first found personal development. I got inspired by Tony Robbins back in my early 20s. And
Love
I
Tony.
spent
Okay.
13, yeah, and I spent 13 years reading all the books, the
Hmm.
podcasts, the
Hmm.
courses,
Right.
and I was previously married. And so during this stage of my almost, all through my 20s, married, no matter how much I tried, how much I learned intellectually, I
Right.
couldn't actually meet my partner in the way that she needed to feel met emotionally. I just couldn't do it. And so
Right.
I'd beat myself up because it's almost like the more I learned, the worse it got. The more depressed I got, the more defeated and small and insecure I got. And it was so frustrating. I just didn't know what was like, why can't I seem to make this woman happy on a
Mm.
long
Wow.
standing way?
Mm.
And it wasn't until I had my wake up call. I was sitting in my living room on the couch and just, binging on Netflix is what I did back then. Just trying to soothe the just the pain and the turmoil I didn't even know I had inside. And
Right.
then one day she walks into the house, and I made some, I don't know, belittling comment or some criticism is how I welcomed her into the house.
Wow.
And she looked at me and she said, "I'm done." And
Whoa.
my whole world just fell from underneath me because we hadn't
Right.
talked about it. We didn't talk about there was any issues, just bomb dropped.
Mm.
A few
And
moments
she meant
later,
it.
and she meant it. She said she
Right.
was done. And I looked at her and said, "What do you mean done?" She's like, "I can't do this anymore. I'm out." I walked
Mm.
into my kitchen, I collapsed on the kitchen floor, and I curled into the fetal position, scream crying like a little baby. And something happened to me. I like I never had an experience like this before. All of a sudden I could look down and see myself, and I had an insight, an awakening moment, if you want to call it that.
Right. Right.
I could see that I could see myself, and I all of a sudden had the idea and the understanding, wow, I'm a little infant baby right now. I'm
Mm.
terrified, and I kept scream crying, "I don't want to die. I don't want to die." And
Wow.
something happened to me in that moment. I realized I had just recreated the situations and the circumstances to go back to the depth of my wound that I is my sacred material. I was separated from my mother the day of my birth. I was adopted day one.
Oh, wow.
And it created such a deep fear of being left that I ended up unconsciously manifesting all the ingredients and embodying the behaviors that pushed my wife away
Mm. Right.
so that I could learn from it because I wasn't learning from it. And that's because I didn't go through a process of initiation. So many men out there, it's the disconnect in the relationship isn't because they don't care. They do. It's
Right.
because they haven't gone through initiation. So they don't have the embodied ingredients to actually show up in the way that the partner's needing or the kids are needing. That's not their fault. That's a lack of initiation. We
Wow.
need to have that to be able to show up in these ways. That was part of my first initiation, being brought to my knees, having to then crawl out of the hole that I got myself into. I
Right.
was no victim. And
Right.
then it was from that process where I then ended up learning the whole essence of what I teach, which is the relational authority. Going
That's
th-
wow.
going through a three-stage process, which is the first one is initiation, the second one is integration, and the third one is inspiration. And the themes in each one of those is the first one is radical transparency, taking
Mm.
a real inventory of our unresolved history from how we grew up. Then how to integrate it, integrating the most vulnerable, tender parts of ourselves that we will self-soothe, cope, avoid, defend, deflect, and then move into a place of real inspired action. Inspiration is all about is reassurance. It's reassuring ourselves in the God-given gifts that we've been given and learning how to bring them to love, learning how to bring them to our work. And when we can do that, that's where we feel fulfilled. That's
Mm.
the that's
Wow.
that's the unlock.
Wow. Wow. Thank you for laying that out there for us and giving us a bit of context on just how to process and also a bit of clarity in regards to what we need to do to filter through this, these wrong, what we have thought that was wrong thinking, wrongdoing within ourselves, and it probably was. We're not processing things the right way. We're not aware of what to do. So thank you for giving us some clarity on that and a little insight on what we need to do in the processes that are involved. Because oftentimes, from my perspective, we just want to block out. We think we can just block out childhood trauma and things. But no, you need to process that. You need to work through it, like you said, um, you know, and heal and just there's some tools, if I can use that word, in regard to how to successfully, identify things and work through it. So that's absolutely amazing. Another thing that I wanted to highlight, and I wanted to highlight this a while back from my perspective and my own. and from what I've witnessed in my experiences, and you'll see where I'm going with this. Oftentimes, us as men, and and I'm taking this from you too, and I'm saying this too. Oftentimes, us as men feel that in any given, relationship, that as long as we come with the material stuff, the money, then everything else should just fall into place. That's not how it goes. That's not how it goes. So things can seem like it's at times that okay, it's okay, and there's fleeting moments of you know peace and excitement when okay, when you bring home the next big thing or you take the wife on the next big trip, but you're not going to resolve those underlying issues just with money. I'm just be straight up with it, money and status and things like that. No, you gotta tap into some other things in regards to mental and emotional, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man. What
so
I hear you so beautifully laying out is how important it is to have one of the most important relationships that anyone can have in their life is the one with themselves.
right,
And Jim Carrey, lays it out from a really beautiful place because it's easy to project onto celebs, people who do have the money.
right.
And Jim Carrey talks about it where he says, I wish you could all have riches and status so that you could actually realize it's not actually the thing that's going to set you free.
Yeah, I do recall Jim Carrey saying that. I'm a fan of Jim Carrey, and he's become really make sure I'm saying the right words. I don't know, but philosophical and really eye opening with, and he's been through that big Hollywood machine, and he's given some clarity on things, and that is amazing. I've spoken with people, and literally, and just in my mind, when someone tells me about their status or what they have, my question is always, okay, are you happy? Are you truly happy? Are you happy with yourself? Do you like who you see in the mirror? Do you love that person? Not do you love that person that you feel has this money? Do you love the bare essence of yourself? If you had no money at all, do you still love yourself? And this is not a shot at anyone, but we've we've been we've been exposed to examples of people that have lost, and I'm sure everyone has heard or something that have all of a sudden lost their monetary wealth and then they end up committing suicide. So that's another prime example.
Yeah, man. There's so much weight that we put onto the material world, which is an important part of it because it's a part of
Yes,
the game.
yes. Thank you.
It's a part of the game. This,
Right,
yes, all the material goods, all the things are here for us to enjoy. Like really,
right,
if we really look at the essence of life from some of the wisest teachers, it's this ongoing message of this is a game, this is a hologram, this is a place to just grow, experience, enjoy. And yeah, life's hard. Being a humaning is hard. And
right,
it's just we got to be real
right,
about that because we have to now build a relationship with our emotions. We have
right.
to build a relationship with our thoughts. We have to build a relationship with the history and the life that we were lived that we didn't have control over.
Mm,
That's a place a lot of people get stuck is they feel victim to the life that they had growing up, the lack of resource that their parents had, you know,
wow, wow.
and it's of course because a little part will feel victimized to that because a little kid is victim to the environment. But
Right.
there becomes a point where we need to look at it a different way and take sacred responsibility for the life we've lived and start to see why did I live this life?
Mm,
What am I being invited to overcome?
mm,
Will I let myself collapse into there's nothing I can do and spend my life projecting that it's everyone else's fault. It's Donald Trump's fault. It's so and
yeah,
so's fault. It's money's fault. It's not,
right.
none of that's helpful. It's not life affirming.
Mm.
Our
I like that.
invitation. Yeah.
Life of I'm sorry when I if I
Yeah.
when I
Great.
interrupt you at times, but I
Do
just get yeah, life
that.
affirming. Yes, another key point. None of those are life affirming is the way that you're thinking, your mindset, the way that you're processing, the way that you're thinking, the way that you're speaking, the actions that you're engaged in, is it life affirming? There you go.
Yeah,
Yes.
man. And so many of us, and I have so much love and compassion for anyone listening that uh, can get lost in that loop, to can get lost in the narrative of why you, life's against you, where's God, your partner's not showing up. It's easy to get stuck there. That's just the nature of victim consciousness. That's the nature of shame. That's the nature of collapse and freeze in the nervous system. It's just what is happening in your body, that your body's remembering about your past. You can overcome it. Now, the way to overcome it is you need to move towards people that have done the work, that embody new ingredients, that are safer, that are respectful, that are kind, that are gentle, that are patient, that are reassuring. Because if we're in relationship with somebody that has those qualities, we can grow those parts of ourselves up and
Mm,
start to experience a world from a new place. This is what my big breakthrough was, from going to, wife walking out and me scream crying on the ground to
wow.
loving my life a few months later. And to say
Mm,
back at that time, there was a couple weeks there I considered ending my life. It was so painful
mm,
because I'd lost everything that I had grabbed onto.
right.
I was so afraid of losing it that it squeezed out of my fingertips and I
Right.
lost it. It forced me to move towards people to help me because I didn't have it. I didn't have my own life. The relationship I had with myself was poor. And the second I started to experience people who could attune to me, who could hold me, could guide me, could give me parenting qualities that I didn't get, I all of a sudden started to discover parts of me I didn't even know existed.
Mm,
I needed to
wow.
receive it. And for anyone listening, anyone who's been listening to the podcasts, reading the books, trying so hard to show up for your partner, as an example, but you can't seem to do it, it's not what you know. It's like the things, but you just can't seem to show up. It's what's living in your body that hasn't processed. We need to move towards ingredients for our body to integrate all of that, to be
Right.
held in ways we weren't held growing up, so that we can have the lived experience of liberation,
Mm,
being liberated from those places. When we get this is why people move towards therapists or coaches or go to events where they're inspired by someone. They want to feel what it's like to be in proximity to somebody that helps them feel the part of themselves where life is good, where life is nourishing, that it's affirming.
yes. Yes. Wow. Thank you. That was beautifully, what I like to call beautifully articulated. That is amazing. Now we're down to about 8 minutes, but I wanted to touch on this. And thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you. You were featured on the Mark Groves podcast. Tell us a little bit about that. Yeah, we got a few minutes, but yeah, I want to hear about that. That was
Yeah,
a
Mark Groves is a dear buddy of mine, and the cool thing about Mark Groves is he was one of my first inspirations. So when I was struggling in relationship years ago, he was one of the first people that inspired me. He was embodying something that I just didn't have figured out yet. And I remember I would walk around in the park with, my headphones in, listening to his messages around relationship and how relationship is this medium of our that is meant to initiate our own awakening, that our own awakening is inspired by the medium of relationship.
mm,
And this is what I call evolutionary relationship.
wow.
It's that. And it made sense to me. It spoke to my soul and it moved me on a trajectory. I remember saying out loud to myself, the message he's saying and what he's speaking about, the topics and the themes around love and relationship and taking responsibility and awakening and evolution and all these things. I'm like, that, whatever that is, I somehow feel that's what I'm here to learn about. And it was. And I learned and I've learned and I've learned and I've gone into programs and trainings and been initiated, been held, been supported, been brought to all those deep, dark places in myself. And then what was cool with being on the Mark Groves podcast for me is that was a full circle moment. He's been an inspiration in my life.
Right.
And now I get to be an inspiration in his. And he's talked
Wow.
about it on
Amazing.
many podcasts since that time we had together and how I helped him um, reveal certain parts of his relationship he was having to Instagram where he left it. And since then, he's moved back to it
Mm.
because his relationships started to change. And he publicly talks about this. So I'll say it, you know, then this was the Uber ride after the podcast episode we had. I just offered over some support. And I just was touching this place in his narrative around some of the things he was sharing. And I'm like, it sounds like there's some unresolved stuff with your mom here.
Mm.
And he stopped and he felt it. And he's like, you're right. And it revealed something that he couldn't see on his own. And this highlights my point. There's so many places we just can't see. We all have blind spots. But if we have someone attuning to us, they can point out the places we actually need to see and feel so that we can do something about it. You know, after this podcast, Mark went and got some, some more submersive therapy around this and dove deeper on it. And it completely liberated a part of his life that was a pain point. He's back on Instagram, back doing his thing. And it was a big part of the theme of what we talked about in that episode. It was a long one. It was over 2 hours long. And what we were exploring was the whole nature of trauma and how trauma ultimately is created through relationship, and it needs to heal through the medium of relationship.
Mm. Wow. That's eye-opening right there. It's created. Say that again, please.
The trauma and the wounds that we have were created in the relationship, whether it's the relationship with our mom or our dad. And so the healing has to happen in relationship.
Mm. Wow. That's powerful.
That's one of the biggest blind spots for people is they think that they can be liberated from the pattern they're stuck in that's creating so much pain in their life with another book, with another podcast. Yes, that all that information helps, but even me talking here, this doesn't lead to change unless this leads to a new action, moving towards a new person, experiencing a different kind of relationship
Mm.
to initiate that person into a different part of themselves. We can't just do it from the same consciousness that we're living from.
Right.
We
Right.
can't do it because the wounding that we're projecting out into the world happened relationally. And so we'll attract the same relationships
Mm.
to emphasize the story and the belief about ourselves and about others that keeps us stuck, that keeps us small. That's not because we're stupid. That's not because we're inadequate. It's because our brain is underdeveloped in that place. That's where all of our blind spots live. I have blind spots where it's just the part of me is 5 years old, so it doesn't function as a 40-year-old. So I need to go and I talk to my coach or my therapist, and then they bring me into an older part of myself of like, oh yeah, that's right. I'm little here. Oh, I need to learn how to parent that part.
Wow.
We need that experience relationally to be able to do the new thing. And
Mm.
I've watched this, one of the most honor, the biggest honor I have is working with men. There's one man that's coming to mind right now, has cultivated millions of dollars, has multiple properties, anything he wants to experience, he can experience.
Mm.
But felt when he first showed up, felt so lost, so defeated, you know, multiple failed relationships and not feeling the joy of everything he's created.
Mm.
But if the parts of him and when the parts of him have been met relationally with gentleness, compassion, patience, reassurance, his body, and all of us, this is true. We all have a healthy blueprint and a healer inside of ourselves, but we need relational attunement in order for that part of us to come online, or else we just do what we do is we defend, deflect, and push away. But if we have safe qualities relationally, we will start to integrate. Our body wants to all of the time. It wants to integrate, it wants to heal. But if we keep placing ourselves in the environment that keeps us in the contraction, that keeps us defending, deflecting, pushing away, shutting down, we can't let ourselves heal.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for that, Mike. That was absolutely amazing. Thank you for your insight, your perspectives, your experiences, your awareness, your expertise. I appreciate you bringing your energy to the podcast. I appreciate you very much. And I will be sure to incorporate your links into the description of this segment. Want everyone to go to read the description of this segment, click on Mike Elliott's links and seek him out. Yes, that's amazing. If you would like to share a link or two audibly here, let's hear it.
Yeah, thanks, man. And just thank you so much. Thanks for just your openness and your curiosity to explore this terrain and having me on. It's such an honor to be having these conversations, especially with other men who are fathers and really showing up. I can really feel that from you. You're here doing the work and want to grow and evolve.
Oh, absolutely. And I pride myself, we're down to about 2 minutes, so I'll make this quick, but I pride myself on the foundation of this podcast being like what the name of it is, empowering, evolving, enlightening. And that's what my intentions are before, and I'm just using this for context, before any amount of compensation in regard to money. Of course, I want compensation. Yes, that's part of the, yes, but that's not my main objective. My main objective is my healing, my evolution, and sharing that with others as well. And hopefully reaching out and helping someone else in some way through these dialogues, to
Yeah.
spark that right push. Like you said, just listening to this podcast is not going to do it if you keep the same mindset and it doesn't lead to, you know, others. But other things. But yes, thank you again. Thank you everyone for watching and or listening. I appreciate you. Be sure to hit that like button, that subscribe button, share this, help the platform, not only help the platform grow, but get this vital information out there to everyone. Also, if you want to be a guest on the Enlightened, Empowered, Evolved podcast, shoot me an email. Simply shoot me an email, 333empower@gmail.com. I appreciate you. Appreciate your support. Sending you love and appreciation. Enlightened, Empowered, Evolved. See you soon.